Someone please notify Mike Pence and his pack that the abortion issue, put a pin in it, set it aside. It does not ring bells, especially among women. This was one of the issues, probably the greatest issue that helped Kamala Harris. And in fact, what the Supreme Court did by pushing it back, that issue back to the states, is exactly what the Republican platform since Reagan has been about. So please, can you drop the abortion issue? Now, why this rant? I will tell you. Mike Pence's political think tank, Advancing American Freedom, which by putting women back in regressing, well, both Democrats and Republicans, want to do that in ways, is urging Republicans to oppose Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nomination as Secretary of Health and Human Services. Why? Because Kennedy is pro-choice. He is unsuitable for the role for a Republican administration because he is pro-choice. Melania Trump is pro-choice. That's President Trump's the first lady, the wife. Should she be ousted at the White House? I think not. Oh, let's see. There's been a lot of Republicans that are pro-choice. But let's go back. So Mike Pence arguing that Kennedy's views on abortion make him unsuitable, highlighting his support for abortion rights. Now, never where, and of course, Mike Pence is claiming Kennedy is an advocate for abortion on demand up until birth, which is not true. That is false. Because if you go back on remember when RFK Jr. was running for president, he constantly has, and he clearly has written about it, what his stance was about abortion and how, yes, it should be limited. But the bottom line is can we just let it go? This is a situation that is an issue that needs to be let go by the Republican Party. I understand Mike Pence is an ultra conservative Christian, and this is his base. This is what it is. He's evangelical. However, I'm going to offend some people. But you know what? This nation has freedom of a religion for a reason. It is not meant to be a secular nation. We are not supposed to be ruled by evangelical Christians. We are not Catholic. We're not Christian. We're not Jewish. We are of all faiths because we are no faiths. The whole point of it was because you got to remember, during the Revolution, our founding fathers, many of their families escaped religious persecution. Anybody remember England? You weren't allowed to be Catholic in England after they left the church. I mean, let's harken back to history, but let this go. And honestly, what influence does Mike Pence and AAF have in blocking Kennedy's nomination is unclear. There are so many other issues that the Senate confirmation hearing is going to have, and I welcome that Senate confirmation hearing because I do wish to see how RFK Jr., Robert Kennedy Jr., stands up to them. And in other news, the Fed can't pin inflation on Trump. The Federal Reserve has shifted its blame for inflation over recent years, from the COVID-19 pandemic to the war in Ukraine, and now to President-elect Trump's proposed tariffs. These explanations, however, ignored the root causes: excessive government spending and monetary overexpansion. Inflation results from too much money chasing too few goods, and the Fed's reluctance to accept responsibility for its role in this dynamic undermines its credibility. Inflation has risen sharply since 2020, with core measures still significantly above the Fed's target. The central bank's failure lies in allowing temporary price shocks to become entrenched in the economy. While factors like supply chain disruptions and geopolitical conflicts contribute to the short term price fluctuations, it is the Fed's job to prevent these from leading to sustained inflation. By not addressing this adequately, the Fed has failed its mandate to ensure price stability. And when you have reports of, by the way, not only inflation, let's look at the consumer pricing index. That's what the prices you and I pay, like at the grocery store, why eggs are now $5 a dozen, you know, prices at gas, things of that. It rose 2% in December. The current fiscal and monetary landscape reflects significant mismanagement. Federal spending has surged 52% since 2019. The national debt has increased by over 50%, and the Fed's balance sheet has grown by 65%. These figures highlight an unprecedented fiscal and monetary expansion that has fueled inflationary pressures. The Trump administration inherits this economic environment characterized by rising deficits, higher debt costs, and an expanded money supply. To combat inflation effectively, the Fed first must acknowledge its role in creating problems. Basically accountability, which is sorely lacking apparently in DC. Blaming external factors such as Trump's proposed tariffs deflects from its responsibility. I mean, hell, yes. And they're already blaming the man. While tariffs may have some inflationary impact, their effect is likely minor compared to the potential disinflationary benefits of deregulation and government spending costs. The Fed should focus on addressing the broader monetary imbalances it has helped create. This is why DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, led by Vivek Ramaswamy, unless he takes a Senate position, being left open when J.D. Vance takes office, and Elon Musk, who making waves not only here in the United States, but also in Europe, are looking into. And this has been something that the people, poll after poll after poll, the people of the United States says that government is out of control and spending must be taken into account. Because let's face it, if you ran your business, if you ran your household the way the government does, you would be broke, you'd be on the streets, you would not be able to afford to live. And sadly, many people are now more and more dependent on debt. But when you and I are looking at our checkbooks or our money and seeing that, okay, we have this amount of money coming in, and yeah, there are a lot of wants. You know what? We need to tighten our belts. We need to cut some expenditures or see how we can streamline our own business or family budgets to continue forward. The government needs to do the same. And the U.S. must revisit the principles of the 1951 Treasury-Fed Accord, which delineated the Fed's role in monetary policy from the Treasury's responsibility for government debt management. This separation allowed the Fed to focus on price stability and employment without political interference, something that has been gone for some time. And in anticipation of Marco Rubio being confirmed as Secretary of State, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has announced the appointment of Attorney General Ashley Moody to fill the U.S. Senate seat. She is expected to go to fill in once Marco gets that Secretary of State. As per the constitutional and state law, DeSantis has the authority to appoint a temporary replacement with Moody set to serve until special election in 2026. At that point, voters will decide who will complete the remaining 2 years of Rubio's Senate term. Ashley Moody has been Florida's Attorney General since 2019, served as an assistant state attorney, and circuit court judge. During her tenure as Florida's AG, she has supported controversial lawsuits, including those opposing the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, and voting rights for former felons. Moody has also opposed the legalization of recreational marijuana and played a prominent role in various legal battles, including a 2020 Supreme Court case attempting to overturn Joe Biden's election victory. Moody's past includes a legal dispute involving her family and Donald Trump over alleged fraudulent practices and condominium deal. But setting that aside, her appointment has sparked partisan responses. Nikki Fried criticizing Moody as a DeSantis loyalist who has failed Floridians. And if anybody wants to know and scratching their heads, who's Nikki Fried? Nikki Fried was our Department of Agriculture commissioner, failed to unseat DeSantis. Really, she won that because she was pro-pot. So we now know who will be filling in Rubio's Senate seat, and we are going to take a quick commercial break. Tune right back in so we can talk about what is happening in the Middle East.